And we're back. Yo, it's the one and only, and I'm joined here today by a Latino legend, someone I grew up listening to. Look, for those that don't know, I've shared the story before. My mother used to own an independent record shop. She did since the time that I was born up to the time I was 12 years old. And this man's music that I'm about to introduce actually played a big part of my childhood. He is the one, the only talented vocalist, incredible songwriter, the one, the only Pete Astudillo. How are you doing today?
Wait a minute. First is first. You do look like KB, man.
Man, oh, man, I appreciate you joining us on the show, man.
But hey, first of all, man, I'm messing around. First of all, thank you so much, Lorenzo, for taking your time, and of course all your fans out there, all the people that watch you and watch your shows, your podcast. Un saludo muy cordial de parte de Pete Astudillo, and thank you for the invitation.
Man, thank you. Look, man, this is the cool thing about everything that's been going on. Obviously, the Selena series hit Netflix. It's a big deal right now. It was #1 across the board in all the countries. And it kind of created this resurgence and interest level for everybody that was associated with not only her, but the band. And, so it just kind of started working in my mind because I had interviewed AB several months back. Not even in reference to the show, just because I wanted to tell his story. And I said, you know what, man, I need to track down Pete Astudillo. So I went on a manhunt on social media and I found you. And then I just stayed really persistent. And here we go, man. We're here now. And, before we get into the whole Netflix series stuff and before we talk about Selena, we want to know about you because like I've told you, man, I spoke to you the other day and I let you know firsthand that I have the utmost respect for you. And you are a true legend in the music industry, man. So let's get into it, man.
Let's go, Biden. First of all, you're too kind. I've just been extremely blessed in my life, to be with the people that I've met throughout my career, to have done the things that I've done and experienced so many beautiful things throughout my career. I'm just extremely blessed, and I thank God every day for everything He's given me. I mean, He's given me more than I even ever expected or could ask for. It's been a really incredible journey, an incredible ride, and I'm really, truly blessed. And thanks again for taking your time.
No, absolutely, man. Like I told you before, man, I think the one thing about, the generations that come in after our generation is like, now we have the social media era and the YouTube era, and people are consuming, digital content, just different the way that we did when we were younger. And so it's really important for these platforms to really, shed light and give flowers to our legends. And like I said, man, you've played a big part in our culture. So I want to tell your story. So here we are, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. It was like I said, I'm from Laredo, Texas, man. Come from Mexican parents, of course, from el estado de Guerrero, Mexico. And I'm the first born on both sides of my parents. I'm the first American citizen, man. So I'm very proud of that. But of course, I'm very proud of my Mexican roots and migrant workers. That's what my family used to do. And that's what I did till I was about 13 years old. Never was into music in the sense that my family had any part to do it, had to do anything with it. Like I said, we came from a very humble house, very humble home, and migrant workers. And like I said, then after that, we got in the restaurant business for a little bit, which was kind of the same concept, that my dad was trying to get everybody working and keep the family together. So we did the restaurant business for many years. But I always had that music in the background, and there was a passion inside me that I knew I wanted to do something with music. I just didn't know how to go about it since I didn't have any experience. I really didn't have anybody, like I said, in my family that was in music. And so I had a really normal childhood, man. I went to high school, graduated from high school, did a couple of years of junior college here in Laredo, Texas. And at that time, that's when I started kind of trying to get into music somehow. And that's about the same time I met a little Mexican from Laredo too, via Chicago, named Joe Ojeda.
So what got you into music? Like, what made you actually want to pursue it? Like, was there a specific group of artists that you looked up to that you were like, these are the guys that made me want to get into music? Basically, was there anyone that truly kind of ignited that fire within you?
You know what? It was just a passion inside me. Like I said, I knew I had it. I started writing very young. I would write little poems and stuff like that. Of course, I didn't know how to make a song per se, but I had the ideas in my head. But like I said, I didn't know how to go about it. Some of my major influences, they're all across the board, actually, because, my parents used to listen to, música de mariachi, of course, banda, which wasn't popular very much so back then, but in Guerrero, in the estado de Guerrero, it is very popular. But we used to listen to banda, mariachi, José Alfredo Jiménez, Dor Infante, Javier Solís. And then on my brothers and sisters' side, the cumbia side, Rigo Tobar, Nacimiento 74, El Superestrella, even the Colombiano, La Sonora Dinamita and stuff like that. And me personally, one of my biggest idols to this day is José José. And he's probably one of the major influences as far as like the style I like to sing. I like to sing ballads. Of course, I know we're Tejanos and we do a lot of cumbia and rancheras, but romantic ballads, that was really what really get me. And José José was probably one of my biggest idols. And fortunately, I did get to meet him a couple of times, man, throughout in my lifetime before he passed away, obviously. And man, it was an incredible experience. But I would say José José on the singing side. And of course, at the same time, we were big rockers. I grew up in the late 70s when I was a teenager into the 80s. So everything from Zeppelin to Journey, Foreigner, you name it, all the rock stuff, Kiss, Sabbath, and into so I had a weird, I think that happens not a lot, but of people that live on the border, because we have that influence from both sides of the border. We want to be teenagers, we want to be rebellious, we want to rock and roll, but then we have the influence of our parents and our siblings. And I'm the youngest of 8, so I had 7 siblings, that I got a lot of influence from.
So at what point did you form the group, Los Bad Boys?
Well, like I said, after a couple of years of college, I got in the restaurant business with my family still. And then at some point, I opened up a restaurant in 1984. I opened up a restaurant in Loveland, Colorado with another brother of mine. And I did that for about a year and a half or 2. And at that point, I said, you know what? I'm not getting any younger, man. And if I'm going to try to go for this music thing, which I had no idea how to do it, I need to do it now. So I came back to Texas in 85. I got back into college, and then I started taking vocal lessons to try to, better myself and get more involved with music. And my teacher was very encouraging, and she pretty much told me, you know what? You just need to get involved in anything that has to do with music, whether it be a choir, be a church, wedding singer. So I started doing, even theatrical plays. So I kind of just threw myself at it, and I started doing theater. I was singing at church. I was doing weddings. And at that point, a mutual friend told me about this young man that was a really good keyboard player that was looking for a singer. So we met through a mutual friend, and this was probably like in 85. And from the moment Joe and I met, man, aquí in Laredo, man, we kicked it off, and there was a really good chemistry there. So his idea was to make a full band. And he already was talking to some people. But then when I met him and we just started playing, him on the keyboards and me singing, and he had a little drum machine. So he started messing with that. And I said, like, why do we need other musicians? This sounds pretty good like the way it is. So we kept practicing, and little by little, I said, you know what? This might be just the way to go. It's only 2 of us. We don't have to charge very much. We don't have to deal with other people. It sounds good. So we went on and became the Bad Boys in that sense. And it was, but we were clueless, man. We had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea, how to go about it. We knew about 10 songs, and we wanted to work. And I think my first gig was my neighbor's daughter was getting married, and my dad, being a proud dad, told him, well, my son has a band, Of course, we were just 2 of us, and we had never played any time or anywhere for that matter. We just practiced. So my neighbor's daughter approached me, goes, hey, I heard you have a band. I go, well, it was more like a duet. So she hired us to play for her wedding, and that was the beginning of that. And then, like I said, my brother was in the restaurant business still, like the family, and he had a catering service in a salon de bailes, not de bailes, like quinceañeras and stuff like that. So I reached out to him, and I go, you know what? Next time somebody needs a band, tell them to think about us. We're cheap. We're cheap. There's only two of us. And so I started getting a lot of work with my brother.
Man, that's awesome. Real quick, before I go any further, what was the name of the restaurant?
The restaurant my family had, the first one we had was named Safari Restaurant because it was part of a little motel. It was a Safari motel, the Safari Restaurant. The second restaurant that we opened up was named after my dad, Don Pedro's.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. It's funny. To the next question, which was, I wanted to ask you if it really was a two-man band, because I think that's pretty incredible to have a two-piece band and actually go out there and perform.
Dude, I'm telling you, I think our stupidity and being so naive was made us brave because we were a little. I mean, when you're that age, when you're a little fearless at the same time, and you're so green and naive that you really don't take it all in, and I think that in a way kind of helped us. So like I said, we started working gigs at my brother's salon. And we would do quinceañeras and weddings. And like I said, for two guys, Joe, man, he's pretty incredible. Considering we had really rinky dinky, like Radio Shack equipment, a little keyboard, and he really made it work. And we made a lot of noise for two Mexicans, man. I'm telling you, man, we made a lot of noise. And I think our big break came out. We got hired to play at a flea market in an old warehouse aquí in Laredo. And we went in and played. And it was, Laredo heat is horrible, man. So it's probably about 110 degrees, techo de láminas, and hot as hell. And I think only my mom and my grandma and his mom and his grandma were sitting down watching us. And there's a couple of people shopping there. And we played one set and then we took a little break. So I went around walking around the flea market, just to check it out. And there was a DJ doing a live remote to promote the flea market. And he saw me and he waved at me. And then I went up to him and it was a friend of mine, not a really good friend, but somebody who I knew. And his name is El Bird. They said El Locutor Número Dos. I don't know if you've heard of him. El Bird. As a matter of fact, he's the one that sang the Carcacha, the Costa Costa, the Frontera, and he also did the Selena live album. So at that time, he was working for a local radio station, like I said. And he goes, "What are you doing, man? You shopping around?" Like, "No, we're actually playing over there in the corner, man." And he goes, "I didn't even know you sang." Like, "No, we just started, dude. We did a little two-man band." And he goes, "I'll go check you out when I'm done with the live remote." So he went over there and checked us out. And I remember seeing him standing there. He's kind of like nodding his head, man, nodding his head. And we finished up, man. And he goes, "You guys are really good, man. You guys are really, really good." He goes, I don't think he said, "Why are you playing at a flea market?" I would have said, "Because they're paying us." And he goes, "Why don't you do the local bar scene, the clubs, the salones de baile and stuff like that?" To be really honest with you, we're not known. The fact that we're only two persons sometimes kind of turns people off because they don't know what we're capable of doing, just two persons. And honestly, I already kind of offered myself to pretty much everybody in town. And I've even offered myself for free, just give us a chance. And they won't even hire us. He goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yeah, I'm serious." I get a lot of work with my brother, through weddings and stuff like that, or little parties or family. But none of the clubs will give us a chance. And that's when he said, "You know what? I'm going to get you all a gig." And he happened to be the DJ at a club called Roxy's here in Laredo. It was a disco at the time. But on Tuesdays, they would do Tejano Tuesdays. And he goes, "I'm going to get you on a Tejano Tuesday." He goes, "When it's whenever we need a band last minute or something, I'm going to get you in." He goes, "We probably can't pay you. We'll get you the exposure you need, la, 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 la." Sure enough, he got us, man. He got us a gig. And there was a couple of locals, a couple of barflies that were there and our families. But besides that, it was kind of dead, Fortunately, the club owners, they liked us. And they say, "Hey, you guys sound really good." And that's when they kind of, I think it was Bird's idea. He goes, "You know what? Next time we get a big band in here that draws a good crowd, we'll bring you in." He goes, "That way you guys can open up for them and get some exposure, get people to know you." And it just so happened that the next big band that came in there was Selena Dinos.
And the rest is
the rest is history, man. Pretty much, man. It was it was a heck of a day, man. You know, the whole experience. It was our first official gig, like at a club. Besides the one we did before that nobody showed up. And of course, at that time, this was like around 1988, and Tejano, was doing well. At the time, some of the big bands were La Mafia and Mas. And Selena, even though she was kind of still getting her feet wet, she had been doing the music for years, but she wasn't still like not that hot. But in Laredo, she would do really well, like really, really well. So we knew we were expecting a good crowd that night. So we were excited just to be part of it, man.
Well, obviously the series came out, so people kind of saw some of that story told in the series. But the way that it was told in the series was always, they always do the Hollywood aspect to it, where they had to touch a Hollywood to it. The way they made it seem was these guys just saw you and were like, yo, those guys are really good. And then you guys were approached shortly thereafter about, playing with the band and joining the band. How did that actually happen?
Believe it or not, that part is really true, man. I mean, and like you said, they go Hollywood. With the movie, the same thing. I mean, they get the gist or the basic idea. But leading up to that performance that night was a really hectic day, and it's too long of a story. But bottom line, we played, and in all honesty, we almost didn't get to play that night because it was confusion and stuff going on. And then we almost didn't play, but the DJ, convinced that, hey, let him play, man, let him play a little something. But I think Abraham decided, or either the promoter or Abraham decided, you know what? We're going to let Selena do her set like she always does it, like get up on stage like she was supposed to. Because we weren't getting advertised. Like the Bad Boys weren't on the bill. We were just kind of like an extra little thing. And so she ended up playing. And then Bird goes, once she gets off, you guys jump on stage, man. And, do your thing. You got like about 15, 20 minutes, do your thing. So the moment that Selena and Dinos got off stage, we jumped on stage. And we started playing. And I remember the first song we did was a Ram Herrera song, And funny enough, after that night, or, months later, they told us, because we didn't know, that when they were actually leaving the club because they were going to be on a break till the next set. And that's when we started playing. They were going out to the bus. And when they heard us playing, they were like, that can't be them, dude. That's only two dudes, man. They can't be them. So they all were saying that to themselves, and they came back in the club, and then that's when they went into the office, and then they started looking through a little window that was there, like, it is them, man. It's those two, it's the Bad Boys, and they listened to our set, and later on that night, Abraham, actually everybody came up. AB, we were loading up our stuff, and AB came up, and I think at that time, Jesse Barra was the guitar player, I think. Everybody just came up, and even Selena and Suzanne, they're like, oh, you guys are really, they were like so nice. We were freaking out that they were being so nice to us. And he was like, man, you guys sound really good. And then Abraham came up to me, and he started asking me questions like, well, who does your bookings? Like, who does my bookings? We do the bookings. So who manages? So he started asking all these questions. He goes like, this is it, man. We're the roadies, we're the musicians, we're the booking agent, we're promotions, we're everything. It's just Joe and I. And I think, it's been a long time, but I could have sworn he kind of looked at me and he said, do you want to work? I go, yeah, I want to work. And he handed me a card and he said, call me next week. And sure enough, I called him the following week, and we started discussing he started just telling me, the way they work, strict policies, what he expects from us. And that's when he goes, you know what? I want you all to open up some shows for Selena. And would you be interested in that? I said, heck yeah. So that's how we started. But that happened that same night, believe it or not. It was one night. That all went down one night. We were at the right place at the right time. But I'm telling you, leading up to that night, there was at least 3 or 4 times that Joe and I could have said, we don't need this, man. This is a headache. And God willing, one of these days I'll write it all in a book. and it's a really long story. But bottom line, at the end, we stuck to our guns, and we took the punches, and we took the blows, and we did what we had to do, and we continued, and we played, and it paid off, and it paid off huge, because it was, that gig changed our lives.
Yeah.
Forever. And it was the beginning of a beautiful thing, man. I know I sound like Casablanca, but it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship, it was the beginning of our careers.
Yeah.
And we opened up for them throughout that year. That was 88 into the end of that year. And then the following year, we became official Dinos.
Real quick, I don't want to skip any steps. I know I mentioned the series. I know that you recently said that you finally watched the series.
Mm-hmm.
There was a delay from the time that it came out to the time that you watched it. What are your thoughts of the series in terms of the accuracy, in terms of the portrayal, and just in terms of the series as a whole? How did you feel about it?
You know what? It was really good, man. It was really good. My congratulations to all the actors, just in case they're watching, and production team. Everybody from the bottom to the top, they put it together, including the Quintanilla family. It was really good, man. I know. Because I've seen on social media, there's from 0 to 100 and 100 to 0 and in between, and some people don't look like it. And it's hard, man, to get everybody to look exactly the way we did. But I think the personalities were caught, like Ricky Vela and Joe and Chris, and of course, Selena, Suzette, Abraham, Marcela. The personalities were caught. Do they look exactly? No, actually, Abraham does look pretty much like Abraham. And I think he's one of the closest. Selena, I think Selena did look like her. The thing is, I think we all have that image of J-Lo from the movie. And I really believe that J-Lo played a better older Selena. And I think this young lady played a better younger Selena. I think she looks better. And I think they have good things on both sides, but I think they did great. As a matter of fact, my character, I thought he kind of captured my I'm kind of goofy and silly and dude, I've always wanted to be tall. So I got my dream finally. I pray to God every day, please make me tall by morning. I finally got my dream. I'm tall in the movie, in the show, man. But I think he does capture that spirit. And Ricky Vela, who I love to death, was one of my best, all of us here, we're all great friends. And they kind of capture that he was kind of like the nerdy, kind of do all these little tidbits of information. And then he was like a techie guy. He was the techie guy with the band. But he's a sweetheart, man. So I think in that sense, they did capture the essence of who we were, the relationship that we had as a band. Because we were like brothers and sisters, even us that were non-blood, that's a relationship we had. And, Abraham treated us all equally, like there wasn't like, okay, you guys are employees, I'm going to treat you different than my kids. We all got the same treatment, which wasn't cool all the time. But nonetheless, it was, but I think they did catch the essence of it, man. I think they did a great job.
Did you communicate with the actor that played you at all?
No, I did not. I think, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I think some of the other people did, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't think they did. I saw a few videos that the cast said that they never communicated with the people that they were portraying because they wanted to kind of just own the role without having any additional influence. But for you, it was really interesting because I was curious because in the movie, you played yourself, obviously, and so and going to the movie, I think that the expectation level was set so high because that movie Selena now, and especially in Mexican American culture, right? In Mexican culture in general, it's become a staple. Like that's one of those movies that's just part of the collection now, and the standard was raised so high. Credit to Jennifer Lopez, who I'm sure you got an opportunity to spend some time with during the role of the movie. She did a phenomenal job of playing that role, and she set the bar extremely high. But I think the series was great as well. I really enjoyed watching the process, but I think it's important to hear it from you because I'm sure you're watching this and you're reliving some of this a little bit,
You really do, and you're correct. I think the bar was set so high with the movie. You are absolutely correct. And J Lo, man, she did incredible. Eddie Olmos, John Seda, Jacob Vargas, Peter Astudillo, incredible. Ricky Bella is also. A lot of people don't know this, but Ricky Bella plays himself in the movie too. That's the real Ricky Bella in the movie.
I do have a question about the movie. There's a specific scene in this movie that you mentioned to me whenever I spoke to you the other day. Whenever it's one of the most iconic scenes in that movie. Whenever the bumper comes off and the bus breaks down, and then you have the cholos that are like, "We'll do anything for Selena's," and they made it seem like that was like in the middle of the desert or something, or in the middle of the country. But you actually told me that scene in real life took place where?
Well, you know what? It's funny, and this is not like breaking news because I've done this. I've told this story before, and I think I even said it before the movie was even filmed, because we would always talk about dumb things and things that would happen to us on the road. That happened in Dallas, man. That happened in Dallas, Texas, at a place called La Bamba. If you're 40 and over, you might remember. It was not downtown. It was like on a Lemon Street in that area, close to downtown, and it was like the big Tejano club at the time, and we were loading up the equipment. We had loaded the night ended. We had to load up the equipment, and the way we would load up the equipment was we were literally parked on the street, which was very dangerous. But by 2 or 3 in the morning, it's not that bad. So with the bus would be parked in the parking area, which was all tierra. It wasn't like paved or anything like that. So that night, I remember particularly that Abraham was really tired, and I remember he was kind of mad. He was like, "Why do I have to wait around to drive the bus? Because none of you can drive the bus, And the other main driver, of course, was AB. He goes, "Why do I have to wait around?" He goes, "I need to go get some rest." He goes, when you're ready to load up, drive the bus around the club, park it, load up, and do your thing. So sure enough, he left, and AB had to drive the bus. And like I said, it wasn't a paved parking lot. It was dirt, and there was a bunch of puddles because it had rained. So he's coming around the bus, and sure enough, he misjudged the puddle, and boom, we sank into the puddle, and we did everything, man. All of us we're freaking out first of us because Abraham's gonna kick our butts, but we putting pieces of wood underneath the tires, towels, and blankets and stuff. And then that's when the lowriders showed up, but they couldn't get us out either, man. And eventually, there was a big those big trash trucks that pick up the dumpsters. Came in to pick up the dumpster, and we said, "You know what, maybe we can get these dudes to push us out." So we went over there and we begged them, man. "Can you please, man, just push us out, push us out?" And they took the hooks where they pick up the dumpsters, and we put some boards in the back. And they didn't want to do it at first because they thought it was a liability thing. He goes, "How about we jack up your bus, blah, 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 blah." But bottom line, that's how I remember that. That's how they got us out of there, man. Wow. I was in Dallas, Texas, at Club La Bamba.
There you go.
If you're over 40, you probably do remember going there.
I'm right under the mark. But I was going to ask, so, on a personal level, because I know that you waited a while to watch the series, and, I don't know if you ever watched the movie. I don't see, I don't know. That's just a personal question. But on a personal level, like, is it hard for you to rewatch some of this stuff? Like, because, you relive it, and like, I'm sure it makes you emotional kind of reliving some of that stuff. But is it hard for you on a personal level to kind of watch the series on TV?
Yeah, man. As a matter of fact, that's why it took me so long to watch it, and it was kind of the same thing with the movie. Even though with the movie I was involved, I was there on set and stuff, and we were allowed to, at the end of the day, to go see what was filmed. But I would never do that either, man. And because I didn't really want to see it, because like you said, you're watching it, you're reliving those moments, and they're bringing back emotions. There was a lot of beautiful moments, a lot of funny moments, but then the real deep ones and the real hard ones, they're hard to watch, man. And I remember the first time I watched the movie was at a premiere in Corpus, and man, it just, it was beautiful, and it was emotional, and it was a tearjerker, then we were laughing, but it was really hard. So I kind of was reminded of that when the series, and everybody was, my family and stuff, like, let's watch the series, and everybody's all excited and stuff. And I think I'm gonna do a solo on this one, guys. If it's okay with you guys, I don't want to do some ugly crying in front of the family. And so it took me about a week later that the series came out, and it took me several days, man. But it takes you back. It takes you back, and I mean, like I said, it's beautiful work that they're doing. It's a beautiful thing that they're doing. But at the end of the day, we're reminded that the reason they're doing this is because we no longer have somebody very special with us. So it's really emotional, man. I mean, like I said, kudos to everybody that was part of it. It's incredible work. But it is, man. Even when we listen to music, or even we see old videos of our performances, it takes you back, man. It's tough. It's a beautiful thing, but it's really tough. It's one of those.
That's really bittersweet. I'm sure it's bittersweet. And one thing I wanted to ask you is that the Recording Academy just announced this week that they're going to be honoring Selena at this year's Grammys, I believe.
I know, man.
They're going to be doing a big award for her, and obviously it's well deserved. She's an icon, a legend. But on a personal level, I do want to know, this is a simple question. When you think of Selena, everybody has this larger than life, perception of her, and she is. On a personal level, what is the one thing that you would say that you miss about her personally?
Oh man, bottom line, and I know it's going to sound cheesy, but her friendship, man, she was really a good friend of mine. She was like a little sister per se, or a really, she almost felt like family. I mean, all of them. But, just the person that she was silly and goofy and kind of she was nuts. And she just had so much life, and she would just brighten up a room. She would walk in, her laughter. She was just such a unique, and I know everybody says, well, it's not easy, but you say those things because she was part of your life. But I swear, she was such an incredible, giving, humble, beautiful human being, and with so much talent, and it was effortless to her. It was she got what they call that it factor. That it. She had it in abundance, and on top of that, she was such a nice person. She really, really, really was. And I would always be astonished that she'd be doing these autograph sessions, and she literally, man, every person that came through there, literally, I'm not exaggerating, she would have something nice to say about them, or a little girl like, oh my God, I like your earrings, or oh, your shoes are beautiful. But she wasn't just saying it. It was sincere. It wasn't she just trying to play the part, that of the nice artist. She really, really meant it, I swear. And I would sit there and just watch her, like, I'd be amazed at the kindness in her heart and the beautiful person that she was.
That's amazing what she is, and truly is one of one. And then I think you, my friend, are also one of one. I know we talked about
You're too kind, brother, but thank you.
I know you talked about your part of your career with Selena and Los Dinos, but somewhere in 1994, you go solo, and and when you decide to go solo, what was the decision to go? I'm going solo. How did that happen? Was it a label that approached you that ultimately for that to happen, or was it something that as you're playing with this band over the years? Granted, you have this camaraderie, this brotherhood, this family that you've inherited from playing with the band and grinding and hitting the road for years. What was that decision for you to say, I really want to try to do this on my own? Because there's a few things in between that I want to touch on here in a second, but I want to know that.
The thing was when Joe Hale and myself began opening for Selena at the Bad Boys, the idea that Abraham, I think in the back of his mind, was to eventually form a big band around us, like a full band. Because he said, you guys are talented, but we need a full band to take you to a different level. So when we joined the band, that was the other step. He goes, we're going to bring you into the band, get you even more exposure, and we're going to build you up, and then we're going to do we're going to do the band again. So those steps were really in order to kind of prepare us to go solo eventually, because that was the idea. But the thing is, 1 year became 2, and 2 became 3, and 3 became 4, and it got really comfortable, and it got to the point that it was like a nice little machine that we got there. I would write with AB, and AB would write with Ricky, and Joe and Chris and Ricky, part of the arrangements. So it became a really nice, well-oiled machine. So at some point, even though I was recording solo albums, because my first solo album was in 1992, but I was backed up by Los Dinos. So even though I was recording, I think the whole idea about me going solo kind of went out to the left. It really wasn't priority at that point. And at some point in 90, by the end of 93, Abraham kind of brought it up again. Like, you know what? The original plan was for you to go solo, and because we already have an album out on you, you're with Capital EMI Records now. So it was more of an idea for management, it's time to really, because if we're going to be really honest, I kind of really didn't want to go, man. The thing is, I was in an incredible successful band. We were doing incredible music with people I loved. We had this incredible bus now. We had roadies. We were finally enjoying all the fruits of the labor. And now I'm going to start all over again, which was the original plan. But I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't like jumping for joy or trying to get out there and do my thing. I was happy as could be, doing what I was doing. And then the more I thought about it, and of course, Abraham was my manager. So, you know what, it's time to do it. Let's do this. And I knew in a way, things weren't going to change that much because I was going to be opening up for Selena with my new band. And what I did for several shows at the beginning of the year of 94, I would open up for Selena with my band, and then I would go change, and I would jump on stage and play with the Dinos. So it was kind of the same thing, but 95 was an incredible year. 94 was an incredible year for Los Dinos. So they started doing these huge gigs, in Mexico and South America. So some of those gigs, I didn't go with my band. So I started playing less with them. And as they got bigger, but I was doing my own thing with my band. But the thing is, as far as the production part of it, we were still writing together. It was still the same management. So in that sense, in hindsight, would I have left? No. I mean, it is what it is. But we were still, there was still a lot of communication between all of us.
In a sense, you never really left. You just kind of
really left. Like I said, and we would get together, like I said, they were working a lot at that. 94 into 95. Well, even 93, man, actually, man, in the 90s, man, we were working like animals, man. We were 3-4 nights a week. I don't know why they even call them tours, because they weren't really tours, because it was just nonstop.
It was never ending. And I think part of the reason why I wanted to interview and I wanted to have a conversation with you is, obviously in terms of your success as Pete Astudillo, but, as far as Selena and Los Dinos, you played such an intricate part, not only from playing with the band, but also from, like you mentioned, writing music. And one of my favorite stories on you is that you had wrote the record Estúpido Romántico, which later went on to go to Grupo Más. You actually wrote that and had Selena in mind when you wrote that record, if I'm not mistaken. And at the same time, you had Cio Nives. Kind of tell us that story, because I don't want to butcher the story.
No. As a matter of fact, that song Estúpido Romántico, I co-wrote that with my compadre Ricky Vela, monster writer. For people who don't remember Ricky, he's the one with the glasses, keyboard player that wrote monster songs and is still an incredible songwriter. And Ricky and I have a really cool relationship too. And we would always be messing around with ideas. And I'm telling you the truth, we were kind of just being goofballs, throwing just ideas at each other and just being dumbasses like we would always be doing, just goofing around. And I think he said, we were saying just dumb things to each other. And when I say dumb things to each other, I really mean it. We're just being dumbasses. And he said something along the lines, well, you can write a song about anything. But of course, he was just being payaso. He wasn't really meaning it. And I told him, you know what? I sure can. I'm going to write a song about un estúpido romántico. Yeah, I'll do that, man. I'll do that. And he said, yeah, okay, yeah. And then the more I thought about it, like, hey, that's not a bad title right there, man. So I kind of started writing some verses, and then I told Ricky, like, dude, remember that Stupido Romantico thing? He goes, let's write a song. So we wrote the song. We wrote Stupido Romantico together. And I personally wanted to give it to Selena, but I knew deep down that it was too aggressive. It was too aggressive. Just the word Estupido in a song, I don't think I've ever heard it before in a song, or at least I can't remember if there is. If there is, but I had never, at least in our market, I never heard somebody say Estupido in a song, which I knew was a little too aggressive for Selena, because the music we would do for her was very clean, the image is very young, very innocent per se. So it was me like kind of taking a long shot. And I think I showed it to AB once it was we had a little foundation. And he's like, no, I don't think it's good. I don't even think he showed it to his dad, because it was, like I said, it's a little too aggressive. At the same time, Ricky Vela is writing this little song called No Me Queda Más. No Me Queda Más. He's writing that. And he says, I'm going to send this to Mas. And maybe I'm lying because it's been such a long time, but I could have sworn I told, dude, you need to give that to Selena. That's incredible, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. But Ricky is such a humble and shy guy. And I think that's what it was. He was just being humble, and he thought they're not going to like it, whatever. But I told him, dude, it's an incredible song, man. You got to give it to Sel. Bottom line, he didn't. So since I couldn't give my song to Sel, Estúpido Romántico, the one we wrote together, we decided to send it to Grupo Más. And we sent him Estúpido Romántico. So then he put in there too, No Me Queda Más. And then we had a third song that I can't remember. So we sent him those three songs, and they reject No Me Queda Más and keep Estúpido Romántico. And once they didn't take it, that's why I told Ricky, man, that's a sign, dude. You need to give that song to Selena, man. That's the destiny of that song. And I think he finally showed it to AB. And then from there, they took it and turned it into the masterpiece that it's supposed to be. And the interpretation of Selena, incredible, man. So, but I think those songs were predestined to be where they ended up.
Yeah,
I don't think either one would be working, or maybe they would have, but I think where they landed, that's where they were supposed to be.
It's so crazy to me, and I still managed to butcher it because I said to you una vez, but it was No Me Queda Más. And those are two of their biggest records as well. And obviously you guys having a hand in those records. I mean, when you talk about Grupo Más, that's actually my favorite record from them. So, yeah. I thought it was a really cool story to hear that. But
yeah, we wrote I also wrote Acaso No Soy. I wrote that one also for them. And I wrote another one. I wrote about 3
for a lot of artists at that time. I'm assuming you wrote for a lot of different artists.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I'm telling you, there was a really good camaraderie between all of us. And there was a really good chemistry between all of us, and the work that we did together. I mean, it was a group effort, man. It was a team effort, and everybody, everybody had their job. And of course, AB was, of course, the musical director, and he was the one in charge of everything. But he would delegate, you do this, you do that, and like I said, it was a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, and absolutely, it was a well-oiled machine. And then you also look at it from the perspective is not only did you guys produce hits for yourselves, but as you start creating these hits for other artists, it really kind of changed the course of music, because you guys were changing, y'all guys were making history, like everybody within this band and you yourself as well. And, I want to fast forward now to when you released Como Te Extraño, which is, a big record. This is a huge, huge record. And I mentioned to you when I first spoke to you, what made me a fan of yours, you got to remember, you're talking 1985. Not to make you feel old, brother, but I was born in 1985. You know what I mean? Jesus. But, growing up in the independent record shop, my mom owned in Fort Worth, Centro Popular, for those that may
yeah, man.
My mom played a really big part in distributing and selling Tex-Mex music, the Hano music. So I was able to see a lot at a young age, which is probably where my passion comes from, to be quite honest with you. But one thing that I remember is she used to vote for the Tejano Music Award. She was part of like the voting committee that EMI would send her the ballot, right? And I remember we would get the cassettes in whenever the distribution would come in. And I remember when we first got your cassettes, we got the Como Te Extraño tape. And it was like a purple artwork, and there was like the faded out, picture in the clouds. But dude, I love that song. I love that song. Anybody that I've told that I'm interviewing you, the first thing that they do is they start singing that song. Talk about that record. That was a record that you actually wrote for your mother, correct?
Yeah, it was actually a combination because unfortunately, man, I lost two of the most important women in my life in 1 year. My mom passed away April 12th, 1994. And Selena passed away, of course, March 31st, 1995. So that's by days, it's a year. And 94 was a really rough year for me. I mean, it was good in work-wise and, all of that, but I lost my mother, and it really destroyed me. It took me a while, man, to really grasp, grasp my life again, because I'm like anybody else. I mean, it's devastating. It's devastating. And my mom was a young woman. She wasn't that old, so she wasn't supposed to go. So that's even makes it harder, So I continued working, and I kind of just went full force and work to try to deal with it. And then in 95, man, Selena passes away, and it's devastating again. And it kind of brought all the feelings back to my mom again. And it was just a horrible, horrible 94 and 95 on a personal note. In that sense, were horrible. As far as, like the music and everything, we were doing incredible. So it was one of those, once again, like a bittersweet thing. We're being very successful, but I lost my mom. Then we lose Selena. And everything just went bananas. I'm telling you, there's periods of time in there that I really don't even remember, man. Like, when did we start doing this again? When did we start working again? When did we start writing again? Because it's kind of there's a blank in there in my head. And I remember we started working on an album a few months later with AB. And that's when the idea came about Como Te Extraño. And I remember him telling me like the way he was feeling. And then I started telling him the way I was feeling. And then he came up with the word, like, he goes, ¿Cómo te extraño? And yeah, man. And then we kind of started throwing ideas at each other. And he was like, it doesn't have to be a song about death. He said, no, I don't want it to be about death. Because it doesn't have to be a song about Sal or my mom. It is going to be intended for them. But we don't need their names on there. We don't need to talk about death on there. And we were kind of on the same page. And it's got to be a song that anybody can take it and make it their own. Because we're all going to deal with, unfortunately, we're all going to deal with the situations, loss. And at the same time, it's just about longing, yearning for somebody that's no longer there, and just really missing somebody so bad. And that was the idea of the song, of course, dedicated to Selena, my mom, and to the fans. And it was almost therapeutic for us too, I think. I remember when I finished writing the lyrics, I was at a Red Roof Inn in Corpus Christi, writing the lyrics. Joe was with me, actually, or finishing up the lyrics. And I remember finishing them up, and I told Joe, I don't think it's good, man. Yeah, it kind of came out a little too fast, the parts that I was missing. He goes, well, show them to me. And I started showing them to her, like, dude, they're awesome, And I was just, I was doubting myself, because it was so important that I wanted to get it right. But it also came out kind of easy, because I didn't have to think twice of my feelings. I was living it. I was hurt. It was a wound that was still there. And when Selena passed, like I said, I was devastated for her loss, like we all were. But it also brought all the baggage from my mom, and it was really put me in a dark space. So I was doubting myself a lot. But then the next day I showed him to AB, and he loved them, and from there we went to work to put it together.
Love that song. It's one of the greatest songs, in my opinion, that's ever been.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
And this song in specific, my aunt passed away in 1997. So I remember when she passed, I'm 12 years old. My tia Olga, I have to say her name because I haven't said her name in a while. My tia Olga, I remember listening to that song on repeat. And that was one of the songs that really helped me get by, man. And so I thank you for creating that record. Because
Well, thank you so much for saying that. And you know what? And it's funny you should say it, because a lot of people, I get a lot of people, and they come up to me and with kind of what you just said. You, hey, thanks a lot. That song really, it really fills a void, or it really helps me go. And it's not even about death. Sometimes I've had men, why I got divorced and I can't see my kids, and it's really killing me, or vice versa, or it just adapted to so many things. And I think that's the beauty of the song. When you can make a song that anybody can say, man, I think that they wrote that just for me. If you can capture that, you've captured magic. And I think that's what we were trying to do. It's not easy to do, but we were trying to do that, not only with that song, but anything we would write for Sel, or anything we would write, that was the goal. We have to touch people. It has to mean something. Even if it's kind of funny or kind of cutesy, it has to mean something. And I think at the end of the day, at least in my opinion, it's going to sound like I wrote it just for you.
Yeah, no, the moment I hear that opening riff on the record, I instantly go back to 1997. It just takes me back to that place. And it's hard for me to hear it sometimes, to be honest with you, but I love the record. So I had to let you know, thank you so much for creating that.
No, the contrary. Thank you, man. And allowing us to be part of that moment. I know it's hard, and like I said, it's inevitable, man. We all go through these, and I don't have both my parents are gone, and sometimes I even hear the songs, and like it tear you up. But sometimes everybody needs a good cry once in a while. It's all good. Man. Let it out.
Yeah, my mother passed away in 2009. And I think the coping process, I don't know that you ever truly cope, but I appreciate you sharing that. And, I want to fast forward now to 2020. I know we've been talking already for an hour, so I know if we keep it going, we're going to talk for 5 hours.
Buddy, I got nothing to do, man. I got no shows. I got nothing to do.
I want to ask you, before I forget, because I know we talked about the Selena series, and before I completely get away from talking anything related to that, what is your relationship currently with the Quintanilla family, AB, and everybody, Abraham, Suzette? How's your relationship now with them?
You know what? It's good, man. We've been friends, like I said, since '88. That's a lot of years, and we've had a working and a non-working relationship. Obviously, after Selena passed, Mr. Quintanilla continued to be my manager up to 2001. I continued writing with AB. I wrote some stuff for him with Cumbia Kings. And we're like family, man. We're like family. And, I'm not going to say it's perfect. We've had our ups and downs throughout the years. We haven't agreed on some things. But at the end of the day, we're like family. We put, we forget, we put it aside and continue. So I think my relationship is really good with him.
You guys created history together, man.
Yeah, like I said, Abraham, like I said, he was my manager for many years. But I put him as my friend before my manager. And the same thing with AB and Suzette. They're my friends, and I know we had a working relationship. And to this day, actually, we still kind of do, because since I own some of the music, the stuff that I co-wrote with AB and stuff, we still have that working relationship, because of the series, and anytime there's any type of licensing or anything like that. So it's we sort of have a relationship as a working relationship, but I consider them more my friends than a working relationship.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have to ask, do you have a relationship with Chris Perez?
I'm gonna say.
That's a touchy subject. I just have to ask, because a lot of people want to know.
No. This is the thing, man. I have the same relationship with Chris Perez as with the rest of the band, like with Ricky, with Joe, with the rest of the family. And the thing is, me personally, I haven't been affected, but in the sense that they're going through a lot. The family and Chris, but I'm really not involved in it, so I really don't know. I just know what. It sometimes comes out on TV shows or on Gordo y La Flaca or stuff like that, or, social media. But honestly, I really don't know what's going on aside from that. And it's a really touchy subject, man. And it's hard to get in the middle of it. Me personally, I wish things would just be right, and make things right. And life is short, man. And I think if anything we learned in 2020 is the value of time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a precious commodity, because once you lose it, man, you're gonna get it back. So that's what I'm saying, that like, just try to fix things, man. Try to fix things, make them right. And like I said, I really wish I could tell you more, but I really don't know. But I mean, I have a great relationship with Chris. Like I said, we don't see each other. We don't, because like, first of all, nobody can see each other right now. But he has his own life. He has his own career, his own band and stuff like that. The one I hang out more is still with Joe, because we still work together. But I mean, he's a great guy, man. And I love him, but I really don't know what the relationship between them is. And I really wish I could just fix it, man, and make things right and enjoy the time that we have together.
Absolutely. And I want to know if you had a relationship with him. So, just so we're clear, but yeah. I appreciate you touching on that. What are you working on right now? What do we have coming from you? I mean, you have a great body of work. I know I skipped some of that, but I kind of wanted to kind of get into some of those questions,
Yeah, well, right now, man, actually for the last 2-3 years, man, I've been working with Joe Ojeda again. We got a brand new band. Well, not that brand new, but we got a new band called Technomex, which what we're doing is kind of taking all the music that we did, with my band, and all the music that we did, him and I, with Selena, the stuff that I co-wrote with AB or with Ricky or with him or with Selena herself. And we're doing a show where we're going to showcase the history of our lives and the music of our lives. And so in this band, I have a girl singer, Sonia La Paz, and Diego Garcia, who's my guitar player. And I guess some of my old band members too, Jaime Mojica, Ricky Landeros, and of course my sidekick for 35 years, Joe Ojeda. And of course, Joe did a lot of the leads back in the day for Selena and stuff when he was playing for her. So we're not trying to be a cover band, or we're not trying to be trying to imitate, because there's no way in the world anybody could ever get that sound. We're trying to give the people that experience. The people that didn't get to live it back then, obviously, there's a lot of young fans, man, tons. So we're trying to give them a little piece of what we used to do back then. And like I said, it's a little bit of Selena stuff that I co-wrote for her, that AB, the Joe, played with her, and a lot of the stuff that I do as Astudillo. And now we get some new music coming out too. I was supposed to release a couple of singles this year. I got one with Eric from Grupo Masore, Cumbia, that we did together. And I got a brand new song also coming out, God willing, early next year. And it has to do with the pandemic. It's I kind of wrote it playing around. And I was watching the Mexican news, Univision, and they were talking about, tienen que estar todos separados, y no pueden estar juntos, pónganse el tapabocas, por favor, lávense las manos, and all this and all that. And it kind of just stuck in my head, a word, and I just started kind of saying it over and over. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to write a song about this, but I'm going to make it a little lighter. I'm going to put that same important message, that same very serious message, but in a lighter way that people might, they say it's easier to make something go down with a little bit of sugar instead of forcing it down your throat. So that's what I did. I wrote this song about washing your hands, being respectful, keeping your distance, but with a little bit of humor and a lot of rhythm. And it's going to be coming out at the beginning of the year. We're bringing out an important message, serious message, but with a little bit of humor and a lot of ritmo. And I also got a song coming out with Joe Ojeda, because since this whole thing with the series started, believe it or not, we've been getting attention on social media as the bad boys. And people want to know who are the bad boys, and is it really true, or is it something that they made up and stuff like that? And I go like, no, we really were the bad boys. Even here in Laredo, my hometown, I've had people like local government people like, hey man, you come out on the series, Laredo's on the series. Is it really true that you guys were the bad boys from Laredo? Yes, that's us. People who were part of Selena. So I've got a lot of people very proud that we're putting Laredo on the map by being on the series. And so I said, you know what? Joe approached me about 3 weeks ago with an idea, him and Babo, the guy who is producing the stuff with us. And at first I thought it was kind of cheesy, but no, because the song is about us, about Joe and myself. And I said, I don't know if I'm cool writing something about us, man. I don't feel that important, that special to be writing something about myself and you. But then when I finally watched the series, is you know what? This kind of does fit now because people are kind of talking about it. So it's kind of it's kind of our lives, how we came to be with Selena, what we did with Los Dinos, and kind of like our interpretation of our gratitude to the fans, to Los Dinos, to La Familia Quintanilla, of what they allowed us to do. So it's kind of our history. And that's coming out. That's going to come out as Joe Ojeda, Peter Trujillo, the Bad Boys.
Oh man, we might as well get the Bad Boys reunion album and get the
it's only two of us, man. It's not that hard.
We got to get the Bad Boys reunion tour. So quarantine, man, COVID-19. This year was very, very crazy to say the least. How did you spend this year? Did you do a lot of writing? Did you do a lot of creating music?
I've been doing a lot of writing this year. I mean, I think all of us. We've been dealing with it the best we can, and in March when all of this started getting kind of crazy. I mean, I think like everybody, we all thought it's going to be a couple of months. We go back to work, but when everything started getting canceled and everything started closing down, it took me about a couple of months to kind of like get in the right frame of mind. Like, what the heck do I do now? Mm-hmm. And I kind of started writing stuff, just getting ideas and concepts and working out in my backyard a little bit. But bottom line, I've really been at home, man, from here to HEB, which is a grocery store here in the South, in Laredo or South Texas, and or the Lowe's, and doing some home repairs and painting and cleaning and, just anything you can think of to keep entertained. But I've been writing some stuff, and thank God, I think we got some good stuff for next year, and all the stuff that we wanted to do in 2020, God willing, we'll be able to do it in 2021. But I'm very blessed, man. I'm extremely lucky that I can do that out of home. And, but I feel for the people that lost their jobs, that lost their homes, lost family. We personally, we got hit with it, man. I lost my dad's brother, my dad's sister, and my dad's sister's husband. Tres tíos. As we speak right now, my brother's in the hospital, and my cuñada is at home trying to get better. My two other siblings also were in the hospital. One of them was in the hospital. So I've got 4 siblings that got it too. So we've been hit hard, man. It's been tough, but I guess at the same time, I can't complain because I know there's people out there that are suffering beyond what I can say. And we got a ways to go, man. We have to respect, man. We have to respect each other. Follow the guidelines, mask up. It's easy, man. Just mask up and follow the guidelines. Thank God right now we got the vaccines, and God willing, we all going to get them. And God willing, and hopefully we'll go back to probably a new normal. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the old normal, but hopefully a new normal. And I'm just hopeful, man. I'm hopeful. And I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm just hopeful. But we need to respect each other, man. I think that's the thing that we lost. At least there was too much division, man. Too much division. And it got ugly, man. It got ugly. And on top of it all, we had this pandemic. We had this virus attacking us, and we were not united. And I think it made it worse. So I think we need to unite, respect.
Well, I want to go ahead and wrap up because, we have a lot more to talk about, but I want to save some of that stuff from whenever I bring you out here for a show, because I plan to
I'd love to, man. Yes, of course.
2021, we're going to bring you to come out and do a show out here in Fort Worth. As you know, I do concerts. I'm a promoter. So I want to definitely bring you out here. First chance, have a great show. But before I wrap up, I do want to say, to your point, by the way, I want to salute to Laredo, Texas. I know you mentioned them a few times. Shout out to the Mall del Norte. I'm not sure if it's still out there. You know what I mean?
It is, man.
Shout out to the Mall del Norte. I remember going there as a kid because my family lived out there for a while. So I visited that mall, and I always remember that. To your point, man, I think life is short, and as Mexican Americans, for me, I'm a first generation Mexican American. My mom and my dad were both born in Mexico, and I know how prideful we are as a culture. And at times we hold grudges, and then you kind of see it even now with the series coming out. Just how critical and how passionate our people are, but it's because we hold what we love to our heart so close, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like this platform right here, you giving me the opportunity to speak to you, to hear from you, it's so appreciated because you represent us. You've represented us for now. I mean, not to make you feel old, brother, but it's been like, I don't know, 30 years now.
35 years, brother. I've been doing this, man.
35 years. So I really want to say thank you, and I want to give you your respect because you're just such a talented musician, such a talented songwriter. You're clearly part of history. You played a really big part in history, not only from playing with Selena and Los Dinos, but also your solo career, your songwriting. You've helped cultivate this culture, and on behalf of all the Mexican Americans and all the Latinos, I want to say thank you for your contributions.
Compadre, on the contrary, man, I've been extremely blessed, man. I'm telling you, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, man. I couldn't have asked for anything more, dude, because I every day, I'm a kid that was working in the fields in Colorado, man, thinning beats. And when I went from the fields to some of the biggest stages, in this country and in Mexico. So, man, I've been able to contribute to some of the biggest songs in Latin history, man. Songs that are going to go down in history. They're going to be here many, many years after I'm gone, man. So I'm blessed and lucky, man. Of course, that Familia Quintanilla gave me an opportunity, Abraham, of course, who said Selena, they give me a chance to be part of something that at the time we had no idea how big and how important and how it was going to become part of our history, of Mexican American history. And so to me, I'm blessed, man. I pinch myself every day, and I'm so grateful. I'm eternally grateful to the family, man, all of them. And like I said, we still have a good relationship. God willing, we can still continue to work and do good things. But also la raza, man, toda la raza que nos escucha. No, y la música de Selena ya no nomás es música tejana, ya ya cruzó para todos lados, alrededor del mundo. En México, que fue donde se le abrió las puertas en un principio, en Monterrey especialmente, tiene que ver mucho el éxito de Selena con Monterrey y con México, que la llevó al mundo entero. So we want to thank all la raza, all racita everywhere, man. Central, South America, Europa, donde sea que escuchan la música de Selena y los Dinos, que la apoyan en aquel entonces y hasta la fecha. A los niños ahorita, hay muchos niños que adoran a Selena. So we want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts, man. And like I said, man, I am blessed. Like I said, I'm blessed to be part of this. I was blessed to have a little part of myself in that history. And God willing, I'll continue to do good work in the future. So be looking out for the new stuff, for those bad boys, Peter Astudillo, Technomex.
God willing.
God willing, beware. God willing, I think, I did some work with AB last year that hasn't been released yet. So I got some stuff coming out with AB too that we co-wrote together. So I want to continue writing with that Mexican, man. I love that guy. He's been a huge part of my life and huge part of my success. I mean, he's one of the persons that really gave me a chance, along with the rest of the family. And Ricky Vela, of course, we want to continue writing. Joe, Heather, everybody, man. And Suzette, Marcela, Abraham, love them all. And thanks for the opportunity. And of course, thanks to the main lady, Selena, that allowed me to be. Just imagine, man, this little kid, but young man out of Laredo with no experience. And she allowed me to sing next to her. She allowed me to dance with her. She allowed me to be part of her band and Los Dinos. And that was the generosity she had. That was the kind of heart she had. Never thought about it twice. I did 3 duets with her, man. I was a nobody when I did Ama Me Quiereme. And she backed me up and she agreed to it. And that's the kind of generosity. That's the kind of heart she had. So, I mean, to me, I'm just grateful to the family till the day I die, brother.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for the time. And like I said, man, we got to save some of our conversation for whenever we get you in studio. And I thank you so much again for joining us. Yeah. And I appreciate it. But before I leave, to the fans, you say what?
Wait a minute, really quick. Is this going to come out on before Christmas? After Christmas, I'm assuming, right?
Correct. It will be out after Christmas, right before the New Year.
Okay, I want to send a shout out to Christmas shout out and all that, and also push my social media and all that. That one. You want to say it again? Or take a turn.
So before we wrap up, man, I appreciate your time as always. To the fans, you say what before we leave?
Compadre, to the fans, we say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for so much support, so much love. And to all of us, man, because, like I said, our school was Selena Los Dinos, and from there we all branched out, AB Cumbia Kings, Cumbia All-Stars. Joe and Chris did the Chris Perez project and the Astudillo. Suzette, of course, she's running the company. Mr. Quintanilla has been a manager. And they've showed love to all of us. I'm sorry, I almost forgot Ricky Vela. Mr. No Me Queda Más. Ricky Vela, working also Ricky Productions. We've all done different things, and they've showed us so much love when we were Selena Los Dinos, and then, separately. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to say, everybody, Feliz Navidad. Que tengan un próspero año nuevo 2021, que nos traiga salud, amor, cariño, respeto. Estén pendientes que vienen cosas nuevas. And also look us up on social media. In Instagram, Peter Studio Official. Hit me up on Facebook. And compadre, to you, Lorenzo, man, I wish you the best, man. Continued success, man. I've seen some of the other shows. So the one you did with your twin, AB, really, really good work. But it continued success, man, because you guys, man, you're also putting, La Raza on the map, man. So thank you too, man, for what you do. Keep up the work.
It's so important because in journalism and in media, we don't have enough representation.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of these platforms that broadcast their culture. And I started it was actually a friend that I was talking to, my friend Hector. He was telling me, he's like, hey, man, you should really, make it a point to focus on our culture. And I said, well, I do that anyways, but you're right. And so here we are, man. And hopefully this platform can bring some more new listeners to your catalog as well. And eventually we'll get you in studio, and eventually we'll get you over here back in town to do a show. But until then, man, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it.
Compadre, thank you. And I just want to say once again, man, mask up, take care, stay safe.